Greetings, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen. This is Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Chibar Alakau. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, an Ethiopian delegation led by the Finance Minister Ahmed Shide held a discussion with the officials of a World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and the International Finance Cooperation in Washington, D.C. The delegation met the officials of these international financial institutions on the sidelines of the World Bank and IMF spring meeting. During the occasion, important briefing related to recent and current situations, economy, financing, and partnership that are important to Ethiopia's development were discussed, according to Ethiopian ambassador to the USA, Seleshi Bekele. The governor of National Bank of Ethiopia, Mamo ምህረቱ, was among the Ethiopian delegation members. The World Bank and International Monetary Fund's spring meetings kicked off on Monday in Washington, D.C. Now, moving on, Ethiopian experts suggest the need to work on building indigenous values and personalities along with the formal education knowledge in the education system in order to build a responsible and reasonable generation that loves the country. The Prime Minister's office organized a Addis-Wog discussion platform themed Shape Generation Madamar. Shagamat has the following story.
Hosted by the Office of the Prime Minister, the Amharic version Addis-Wog discussion was held prioritizing building synergy generation. A generation who would work for Ethiopia with self-motivation should be created, as to the Minister of Education, Birhanu Nagga. Starting from family level, religious institutions, schools, and other social institutions should play their role for this cause, he pointed out. According to the minister, in addition to their knowledge development efforts, schools are being made to carry out personality building activities as stipulated in the new education curriculum.
Reforming education is a responsibility that should be shouldered by all stakes and not just one. So, just to say, the family should be as involved as the government, religious fathers, mass teaching, as do the experts, and so on and so forth. For any success in education, all must toil, meaning we need collective efforts. Last but by no means least is the creation of a conducive environment.
The whole structure tababro የሚሰራበት environment መኖር አለበት.
Panos Hazandreas, who also worked in the field of education, said our education system should focus on global ideas based on indigenous knowledge. He indicated that the curriculum must integrate Ethiopianism and international thinking.
እንግሊዞች የከፈቱት ከሆነ እንግሊዝ ሽታ አለው
The past 80 years saw the mushrooming at both local and international schools. Now those going to be the so-called international schools, let's say the British, may adopt some British styles, but they cannot be British. The local schools try to integrate indigenous knowledge with international ones. Therefore, we must work on inculcating indigenous knowledge in a way that fits the current global outlook.
ምንሰራው ስራ በሙሉ ከሐስከፈ ኢትዮጵያዊነት ላይ የተመሰረተ ዓለም አቀፋዊ አስተሳሰብ መሆን አለበት.
Psychologists have noted that it is the current generation that is responsible for shaping Ethiopia for a better future.
The present generation should overcome grudges and promote love and cooperation instead of hatred.
Bamlak Sra Fasil, a student, commented that the generation must develop habit of reading to build the new generation.
A generation that has developed a strong reading culture knows their culture and address wrongs in the past. They remain stalwart and break the chains of colonization.
The Amharic version Addis-Wog discussion has been held in the past 4 years, dedicating itself to national affairs with inputs from scholars and other stakeholders.
Now, State Minister for Foreign Affairs Misganu Arga discussed various issues with the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat. Misganu explained about the implementation of the peace agreement reached under the aegis of the African Union. The State Minister highlighted Ethiopia's position regarding the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD to the AUC chair, emphasizing that Ethiopia holds a firm stance that the tripartite negotiations should continue under the auspices of the African Union. He also underlined that Egypt's efforts of politicizing the grid and the Nile waters does not benefit all parties. The AUC chair, for his part, said that since the Nile is African river, the AU believes that the agenda should be continental. But you're still watching Addis News Hour. Now, information sharing among the law enforcement officers in the Eastern African region and beyond is said to be critical to effectively fight transnational organized crimes. This came here when a three-day meeting of the Eastern Africa Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization kicked off. Kasaunchane reports.
Converging under the team promoting based policing practices in the fight against terrorism and transnational organized crime in the Africa region and beyond, 14 Eastern African nations are teaching out security and policing in the region. Transnational crimes and gender issues, cybersecurity, combating terrorism and illicit dealing in armaments are some of the security issues being discussed during a conference. During his keynote address to participants, Deputy Commissioner General with the Ethiopian Federal Police, Zelalem Mengistu, underlined that the promotion of information sharing via regional and beyond cooperation is the only and the best way to combat terrorism and transnational organized crimes. The Deputy Commissioner General went on to say that the member nations' attendance at this meeting shows a high degree of commitment on the part to come together and discuss best policing practices, issues and trends.
As our region faces common crime such as terrorism, financial crime, cyber crime, counterfeiting, narcotics, human trafficking, armed trafficking, crime against children, and gender-related crime, among others. I urge all of us to work towards a common goal of fighting against these crimes, and reducing crime rate in the region. We can achieve this goal only if we work together as a team by building a strong network, sharing information, and using Interpol tools. This will enhance and strengthen cooperation among member countries, law enforcement agencies, and partners in the fight against transnational organized crime. As ambassadors from the region, I am proud to have here to discuss the various programs prepared for discussion and deliberation.
Gideon Kimilu, the Interpol regional CEO, for his part underscored that it is critical for the prosperity of the region that all policing services in Interpol member countries understand transnational organized crime, terrorism and other security challenges on an equal footing.
International police cooperation, that is Interpol, is the best tool for strategizing, laying a good and solid foundation that can be deployed to trace, arrest and prosecute criminals. Remember, Interpol brings together 195 countries. The Interpol Regional Bureau in Nairobi brings together 14 member countries. We are doing the same thing. We are trying to make sure that there is very close collaboration between countries in the fight against transnational organized crime and other security challenges. That will be possible if only together we think and develop our cooperation in terms of training, harmonizing and reinforcing national laws, sharing intelligence, managing gender-related offenses, and by sharing experiences and best practices. Again, when we meet, countries will be sharing their best experiences.
Founded in 1998, the Eastern Africa Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization is a regional police organization headquartered in Nairobi, while its membership spans 14 different countries, including Ethiopia, Eritrea, Kenya, and Rwanda, among others.
The Ethiopian Wildlife Conservation Authority has confirmed that the wildlife blazed in the Samin Mountains National Park has been brought under control. The authority noted that the forest fire has spread through the park since April 7. The cause of the wildfire is being investigated, the authority said. It is stated that the wildfire that broke out in the different areas of the park was brought under control by the park staff, the local community, and the members of the National Defense Force. It is also pointed out that efforts are being undertaken so that wildfire does not break out and cause further damage again. Moving on, Ethiopia has been embarking on a comprehensive reintegration of its regional special forces with a view to forming a more nationwide and united army. The security reform is meant to bring about a vibrant defense force to fend off both internal and external threats. In the following piece, our staff reporter Haptam Ashagri takes us back to what major actors said regarding the need to reform the special forces. Have a listen to this.
Ethiopia has introduced a host of reform beginning April 2018 with the onset of a national reformist agenda by the new administration. While it has been reaping the fruits of reform in its defense and security, the chances leave much to be desired. One of these concerns this need to reintegrate what came to be known as special forces into the federal army. While some have gone to the extent of questioning the legality of the special forces, others have underlined the need to cut inflated security costs by regional states. This is what Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed told ETV on the eve of the war in the north.
አንደኛው ክልሎች በወታደር ስልጠና ላይ ከማተኮር የሚሻላቸው በሶፍት ፓወሩ ላይ
I would deem it much better for regional states to redouble their efforts and spend more time and energy on socio-economic reforms than overspend on training special forces. Health, education, agriculture and other priorities are vying for our attention, while we are heavily investing on armed manpower. One of the reasons why the National Army is busy putting out fires here and there, often intervening in regions, is because some of these forces have built massive armies that's overcommitted to feuds and skirmishes with other neighboring regions.
In the 2021, an MEP raised the same concern, focusing on the legality of the special forces.
ልዩ ኃይሎች የክልሎች አልፎም የብሔር ጠባቂና መከታ ሲሆኑ ይስተዋላሉ።
I don't need to present any more compelling evidence to the ethnicization of the army than the pomp and fanfare surrounding the special forces. This time around, while some of these forces are flexing muscles for yet another round of destruction, it's only a matter of righting wrongs to reconsider that the establishment of these forces lacks any constitutional background in the first place.
የልዩ ኃይል አደረጃጀት ህገ መንግስታዊ መነሻ
የልዩ ኃይል በሚመለከት ቀደም ብሎ ኮሚቴ ተቋቁሟል። ህገ መንግስታዊ አይደለም ፔሬድ
In connection with the special forces, we have set up a task force. There is no denying the fact that the establishment of special forces is anything but constitutional. We saw the same problem creeping in with the establishment of new states like the Sidama. Other zones are also clamoring for special forces. If we go on authorizing these requests, we'll burn our money and won't have enough for other priorities.
Members of the 547-seat parliament time and again raised the issue, underlining on the chaos left by some of these forces. The federal government is alertly working to address problems related with special forces based on research and the request of the general public.
Now, Ethiopia's cultural fabric and magnificent landscape is said to be offering untapped potential to the film industry. The Ethiopian-Italian actress and model Liliana Mele exclusively told ETV that art can contribute a lot to bolstering bilateral ties between Ethiopia and Italy. Tigist Anissa has interviewed her. Have a listen to this.
Born in Gondar to an Ethiopian-Italian family, Liliana Mele arrived in Italy at 6 and then moved back to Ethiopia with her family at 14. She attended the Airbag Third Millennium Theatre workshop of the Italian Cultural Institute for 3 years. In 2000, she won the pre-selection of Miss Italia Nel Mondo, obtaining the title of Miss Ethiopia, which allowed her to return to Italy for the competition's final, where she ranked in 4th place. She made her film debut in 2004 on the set of Carle Verdon in Love is Eternal While It Lasts. In 2005, she played the role of Amina, one of the protagonists of the television series Gente di Mare, broadcasted on Rai 1 for 2 seasons. She was also part of regular cast of television series Roma, an international drama consisting of 2 seasons. Approached by ETV actress and model Liliana Mele reiterated that art can contribute a lot in bolstering bilateral ties between Ethiopia and Italy.
For example, the Italian Cultural Institute is really trying to, I did 2-3 jobs with them, all in entertainment or art, and it was all to get the two, the two country cultural together through the art. So this, it's already in a small way, it's already happening in my little life, coming back here through the art. It was the first time was through theater, the second time it was through music, and even through a workshop. I did a workshop of acting, in trying to get all my skills and my experience to the young here in Ethiopia that maybe doesn't have so many opportunities to have tools, And another way it can be the movie. I believe really in movies, like movies, documentary, through this art it can, you can do a fusion between the two cultures and tell a lot about, because we even had a lot of stories between Italy and Ethiopia, whether some are bad, some are good, but after a long time history it gets always fascinated, even if it's bad. To tell the history, how it was, it's always nice, to do books, movies, short movie, long movie, documentary. I believe in this.
The actress went on saying that Ethiopia's cultural fabric and magnificent landscape offers untapped potential to the film industry.
I think Ethiopia, it's all to be discovered, in all ways. It's not only the landscape, the culture, in every place. It's like if you go in the north, you have certain culture, certain history, and if you go another side of Ethiopia, you have another one. In the south, you have another one. So every place that you go, you have a different landscape, different nice landscape, different situation, different culture. So it's all to be discovered. It's not only landscape. It's all to be landscape. Of course, it would be really wonderful for movies, for documentary, because the picture is one of the main things of movies. But it's not only landscape. I think it's even what can you tell through the story of Ethiopia. Whether it's if you pick up an historical thing, or whether if you pick up something modern, like now the change that the city, for example, is doing a lot, and I think even Ethiopia, I think it's something that it has to be all discovered,
Di sentimento? No, to dance before.
Sì.
Moving on, this week's piece of the week in history takes us back to the life and career of one of the world's most brutal dictators and presidents for life, Idi Amin Dada. After successfully staging a coup against rival Prime Minister Milton Obote, the first since independence, Amin ruled Uganda with an iron fist until he was toppled when he stirred up the hornet's nest by provoking the Tanzanians in 1979. Binyam Alamayo takes it from here.
President Milton Obote, Amin rose to the rank of Major General and led an attack on the King of Buganda.
Amin was born in 1924 in Kakobo, Uganda, and died on August 16, 2003 in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. He was a military officer and president of Uganda between 1971 and 1979, whose regime was noted for the sheer scale of its brutality. A member of the small Kakwe ethnic group of northwestern Uganda, Amin had little formal education and joined the King's African Rifles of the British Colonial Army in 1946 as an assistant cook. He quickly rose through the ranks and served in the British action against the Mau Mau revolt in Kenya between 1952 and 56. Amin was one of the few Ugandan soldiers elevated to the officer rank before Ugandan independence in 1962, and he became closely associated with the new nation's Prime Minister and President Milton Obote. He was made Chief of the Army and Air Force between 1966 and 70. Conflict with Obote arose, however, and on January 25, 1971, Amin staged a successful military coup. He became President and Chief of the Armed Forces in 1971, Field Marshal in 1975, and Life President in 1976. Amin ruled directly, shunning the delegation of power. He was noted for his abrupt change of mood, from buffoonery to shrewdness, from gentleness to tyranny. He was often extreme in his nationalism. He expelled all Asians from Uganda in 1972, an action that led to the breakdown of Uganda's economy, and he publicly insulted Great Britain and the US.
I'm Scottish. Scottish? Why didn't you say so?
This is the sort of man a president needs around him.
You want me to be your physician?
As well as numerous world leaders. A Muslim, he reversed Uganda's amicable relations with Israel and befriended Libya and the Palestinians. In July 1976, he was personally involved in the hijacking of a French airliner to Entebbe. He also took tribalism, a long-standing problem in Uganda, to its extreme by allegedly ordering the persecution of Acholi, Lango, and other ethnic groups. Amin became known as the Butcher of Uganda for his brutality, and it is believed that some 300,000 people were killed and countless others tortured during his presidency.
Tell me what is on your mind.
I have to go home now.
You cannot. You are like my own son.
I'm Nicholas Garrigan, and I'm from Scotland.
Your home is here.
In October 1978, Amin ordered an attack on Tanzania. Aided by Ugandan nationalists, Tanzanian troops eventually overpowered the Ugandan army as the Tanzanian-led troops neared Kampala, Uganda's capital, on April 11, 1979. Amin fled the country. He was succeeded as president by Yusufu Lule 2 days later. After escaping first to Libya, Amin finally settled in Saudi Arabia.
And now in business, the African Airlines Association, in collaboration with Ethiopian Airlines, is set to host the 11th Aviation Stakeholders Convention from May 7 to 9 at the Ethiopian Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian Airlines, the 11th Aviation Stakeholders Convention, which will be hosted by Ethiopian Airlines and the African Airline Association, aims to promote, serve African and champion Africa's aviation industry. Ethiopian added that the convention will be held themed Changing the African Aviation Narrative. The Aviation Stakeholders Convention is one of Africa's major forums for air transport industry stakeholders to dialogue, exchange knowledge and experience for the development of the travel ecosystem, it was learned.
We used to have each other's playlists, No, no.
It's Kavi in Burundi. I hope you're doing amazing. Right now, I'm gonna take you on a tour around Bujumbura with Rachel right here. Raquel. Oh my goodness.
Bag of all your things, the memories of when I kissed you. Remember when we used to say to each other, we belong together, me and you forever. Tell me where you been. Used to say to each other, we belong together, me and you forever. Tell me where you been, yeah, since I prayed. 'Cause everything I see still reminds me of you. Bag of all your things, the memories of when I kissed you. Remember when we used to say to each other, we belong together, me and you forever.
And finally, moving to continental news, China has warned that peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait and independence for Taiwan are mutually exclusive, as it has concluded 3 days of live fire drills near the self-governed island. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has openly equated any form of Taiwanese separatism to instability in the Taiwan Strait. For more on that, here is Saptam Al-Shagri.
Beijing says the drills simulated previous attacks against targets on the island, its complete encirclement, and involved the Shandong aircraft carrier. Taiwan scrambled fighters jets in response. It follows last week's visit by Taiwan's President Tsang, who went to California, where she met U.S. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Beijing says the exercises sent a clear warning to any fractions forces in Taiwan who may be seeking full independence for the island, which China regards as a breakaway province.
This is a stern warning to the provocative activities of Taiwan independent secessionist forces and collusion with the external forces, and a necessary move to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Taiwan's defense ministry has condemned the drills, accusing Beijing of destabilizing the region and declaring the island will continue with its own system of government.
The armed forces will uphold our sovereignty and maintain our national security in a composed, rational, and thoughtful manner.
With presidential elections next year, the current administration's policy of keeping China at a distance is popular among many Taiwanese.
Wanting to annex Taiwan is quite a weird thing. It's like if I were to say a place that I want to have and then just say that I want to annex it. That doesn't sound very reasonable. Historically, there were some connections, but that is not to say that Taiwan belongs to China.
Most ordinary people probably aren't afraid of the drills, with the main reason being that everyone thinks that China won't start a war.
China considers Taiwan part of its territory and has not ruled out using force.
Well, the viewers, you have been watching Addis News Hour. Now a quick recap of the top stories. Experts say building indigenous values in schools is critical to create nation-loving citizens. And China warns against Taiwan independence as it ends military drill. Well, viewers, with that we come to the end of today's news. Thank you so much for watching us. Bye-bye.